Hi family, I'm Jordan Thorpe and this is Jordan's Journey channel where we are moving forward in life and in faith. If you're new here, welcome. If you're already subscribed to the family, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today, family, I wanted to talk to you in regards to it is complete. Okay. Many of you have completed a cycle, have completed the testing that was needed, and you're being released. Okay, there is a release of blessings, a whirlwind of blessings that are being released. Okay, and it's almost like a slingshot, like God was pulling it back and then it's being released. Like it's being released simply because now is the time for those things to be released. Okay. And so in my previous video entitled Your Status is Changing, I was talking about how your conditions are changing. Your life is changing because you decided to step into who you really are. There is elevation. Okay. There is elevation when you decide to come into agreement who God has called you to be. Okay, there are promises attached. And so there are promises attached to your true identity. And so many of you, your life is changing. The conditions of your life is changing. And promises are being fulfilled. There is a release. There is a release in the spiritual of things, of promises, that of things that are just coming together. Like everything is coming together all at once. Okay, all at once, back to back blessings, just back to back, simply because now was the time for those things to be fulfilled. God said it is complete. There is a completion that has happened, and you are being released. You're being released into whatever God has for you. You have done your training. You have passed the test. Okay, because many of you have gone through things that the average person would have never gone through. And it's not because you attracted these things. I know that society will tell you like, oh, you're going through these situations because you attracted these situations. And as a chosen one, that is simply not the case. Like, you are going to go through certain things and experiences that most people don't go through, simply because there's a testing of your character. There has to be a testing of the character before God releases you into the promises that he has for you. Okay. And so there is a release. It was like you were in prison, and the gates are being opened, and you're stepping out. God said it's time to step out. Like, you're stepping out into what he has for you. I want to read in the book of Psalms. Okay. Psalms 105, starting at verse 13. Okay. And it says, they wandered from nation to nation, from one kingdom to another. Yet he did not let anyone oppress them. He warned kings on their behalf, do not touch my chosen people, and do not hurt my prophets. Okay. So it says they wandered from nation to nation. So many of you have been wandering. Okay. You've been from one place to another. You really haven't been settled into the things that God has for you, but you have been moving around. Things you've been having to adjust to certain life changes. But all the time, okay, while you have been going through these adjustments, while you have been going through these humbling experiences and just figuring out what God has for you, he said he did not let anyone oppress you, okay? The enemy couldn't take you out. You know, family members or friends are looking at you. People may have been trying to send attacks on you, but they can't touch you. Okay, they can't touch you. Anyone who has tried to oppress you, anyone who has had any ill will against you, it only ricocheted back onto them. God says you are covered. You were covered the whole time, even in the mouth of the enemy, even when it seemed as though the enemies had you, even when it seemed as though your enemies had you, or it looked or appeared as though your enemies won, or they had triumph over you because you were going through your testing process. God said they couldn't touch you. They couldn't oppress you. You were protected. And anything that they tried to send against you, it only ricocheted back onto them. He said, do not touch my people. Do not touch my people. Do my prophets no harm. You can't be touched. You can't be messed with. And if we continue, it says, he called for a famine on the lands of Canaan, cutting off its food supply. Then he sent someone to Egypt ahead of them. Joseph was sold as a slave. They bruised his feet with fetters and placed his neck in an iron collar until the time came to fulfill his dreams. The Lord tested Joseph's character. Then Pharaoh sent for him and set him free. The ruler of the nation opened his prison door. Joseph was put in charge of all the king's household. He became ruler over all the king's possessions. He could instruct the king's aides as he pleased and teach the king's advisors. So it says, Joseph was sold as a slave. So many of you have been in oppression, okay? You're surrounded by people who may not like you, may not care for you, don't have your best interests, okay? You know that they're not in the kingdom, but God placed you here, okay? God placed you in those environments. You were at a low point, okay? God placed you in these environments, and it almost felt like a prison until the time came to fulfill his dreams, until the time came to fulfill. So now was the time that you are being released, okay? Promises are being fulfilled. Things are complete. You're walking into dreams. Your dreams are becoming a reality because there's a completion, and you're being released from your current situation that was at a low point, okay? It says his dreams, but the Lord tested Joseph's character. So all this time, your character has been tested. God has been testing your character through certain experiences, putting you in certain environments, putting you around certain people who is hard to love. Because you're probably like, God, why am I around these people who don't like me, who don't have my best interests, who don't care for me? They're secretly competing with me. They're talking behind my back. They're jealous of me. Why am I around these people? Because God is testing your character. There has to be a certain heart posture before you enter into the palace, before he makes you ruler. So it says, until the time came to fulfill his dream, the Lord tested Joseph's character. So Joseph's character was tested while he was in prison. God showed him a dream as a young boy, and immediately after he was showed the dream, he was sold into slavery by his own family. How many of us have experienced God showing us something? God showing us a vision, God showing us a promise, God showing us our life. And then as soon as he shows us the promise, we enter into hardship. We enter into circumstances that look so far off from what God originally showed us. And God said that is a testing of your faith. I'm going to show you some things about your life. I'm going to show you some things about yourself. But before you get to this promise, there is a process. And during this process, you will be tested. But will you still trust me? Will you still believe in me? Will you still believe that the promise still stands no matter what is happening around you? Joseph was showed that his own family will be bowing down to him, the stars and the moon. And then he is sent into slavery by his own brothers right after he was shown the vision. How humbling is that? One thing about God, he will humble you. He will humble you. And true people who are in the palace, who God has given influence, who God has given authority and power, you better believe they have been through some humbling experiences, because it's only God who can exalt you. It's only God who can bring the people. It's only God that can turn nothing into something. That it's only God where you can go from 0 to 100 real quick. That's the hand of God on your life. That's also called a miracle, where things just happen in your life that are just unexplainable. Like, you don't know how you got here. You don't know how things are coming together, how things are working out. But God does. You're just trusting God. And God is saying, I'm taking care of you because you trusted me. I'm releasing some things over your life because you're my chosen people. And there were so many processes that Joseph had to go through before he entered into the palace, even being in prison for something that he didn't even do. There was a testing of the character. So many of you, it's not that God is punishing you. It's not that God forgot about you. There has to be a testing of the character before he releases you into the palace. God said there's a release. You have passed the test. I know these people don't like you. I know these people don't care for you, but I've placed you in these environments, not because you attracted these things, but there's a testing of the character. Because you have to be able to overcome that. You have to be able to still love. You have to be able to still forgive. You have to be able to still pray for you. Even when it's hard, even when they're talking about you, even when they don't like you. The Pharaoh sent for him and set him free. The king sent for Joseph while he was at his low point in the jail and set him free. So many of you, someone is going to send for you. Someone's going to send for you and you are going to be set free. God said there's a release. You're free. You're no longer in bondage. You're no longer in prison. You're no longer being tested. You're free. You're stepping into your true identity and what God has for you. This is a new level of life, new beginnings. God said the prison doors are opening. You're being set free. You're being released. There's a release, a whirlwind of blessings. Blessings that have been held up until it was time. Until it was time for those blessings to be released, to be fulfilled. Okay, there was a completion. There is a completion. The ruler of the nation opened his prison door. Joseph was put in charge of all the king's household. So immediately from prison, there was elevation. Immediately from prison, there was elevation. So it wasn't just anybody who opened the prison door. It wasn't just anybody who opened the prison door. It says the ruler of the nation opened the prison door. The king. Many of you are being watched. You're being observed. Okay? You're being observed. You're being carefully watched. People in high places are watching you. They're observing you. Before Joseph was released, the king at the time was hearing about Joseph because he was interpreting dreams. So even in the prison, he was still operating out of his gifts and he was interpreting dreams, and the king heard about him. And when it was time, he was released. That's why it's important to be obedient to what God is calling you to do, even if you're not seeing results, even if you feel like it's a small thing, because that small thing is preparing you for the bigger thing. It's preparing you for the platform. It's preparing you for your elevation. Okay? You don't know that exact thing that seems small, that seems minimal, is what's going to make you known. It's what's going to reveal your true identity. It's not, doors are being opened, but it's not just any doors. These are life-changing doors that are being opened. These are life-changing mantles where your life will never be the same. The things that you have gone through, you will never go through again, because it was just part of the testing. You're being watched, you're being observed. People in high places are looking at you. You don't know who's watching you. You don't know who's looking at you, but they're observing you because they're hearing about what you're doing. They're hearing about who you are. And so many of you, there's going to be a release. There's going to be an encounter. There's going to be an encounter because God has led them to you. And there's going to be an encounter. And this encounter is going to be life-changing. Okay? Joseph was put in charge of all of the king's household. He became ruler over all the king's possessions. Okay? You don't become ruler over all the king's possessions. You don't become ruler over nations without going through a testing of character. You don't get that high up without first being low before God in the secret place. God is saying it's complete. There was a process that has been completed, and there is a release of blessings. And it's almost going to happen so quickly and so fast. But really, these are promises that are just being fulfilled from the seeds that you have planted over the years, over the months. This is part of your inheritance. This is part of your true identity. These are blessings that are connected to your identity, to who you are. And God said you are worthy of these blessings. You are worthy of this status. This is who you really are. You were never meant to eat with the pigs. You were never meant to stay low. You were never meant to stay in the prison. So there has to be a mindset shift to understand, like, that was never who you were. This is who you really are. What I'm about to show you, what I have next for you, what you're entering into, this is who you really are. This is what really belongs to you. Many of you are settling in the prison when God said there's a palace. But you're not getting to the palace without passing these tests, without this character development, because your heart has to be right. I don't just entrust my people with just anybody. God says completion. There is a completion that is happening. And you're moving into the palace. There are people in high places, kings and queens who are observing, who are watching you, who have heard about you. And there's going to be a release. God is allowing the time for, there's going to be a connection. Okay. There's going to be a connection. And this connection is going to be life-changing. This connection is going to be elevation. Okay. And so that's all I have for now. If you need additional resources to help you grow in life and faith, make sure you check the description box below. Also, I wanted to mention we have our free masterclass on how to live a satisfying life, how to reach self-fulfillment. So make sure you check that out. The link is in the description box below. If you have Jordan's Journey app, make sure you turn your app notifications on so you can get your daily inspirational messages. If this word resonated with you and you would like to sow a seed into the word, the link is in the description box below. And you can always visit us on the web at jordansjourneycoaching.com. God loves you so much, and so do I. Bye.